Hello, Shmai from the hills. It's no coincidence, I think, that the word for September in Welsh is Medi, which means reaping. And that's precisely what I'm doing today. I am harvesting a crop of traditional Welsh black oats, which I grow as part of a grain growing collective called Helmi. And I thought it would be a really good opportunity to tell you a little bit about the first track on the new album. The track's called Helmi. Now, a bit of backstory first. Up until the 60s and 70s in Wales, oats and corn were quite an important part of the Welsh agricultural system. Farmers would grow grain for animal fodder and to feed humans. But when silage came in and ryegrass and horses went out and tractors came in, that all disappeared basically overnight. And so oats disappeared from the Welsh landscape, from the food system and from cultural memory. You can't actually buy Welsh oats anywhere in Wales anymore. That's how much they've disappeared. So I was fascinated by this sort of amnesia, really, and went about doing a bit of research and started looking at history, the history of oat growing, and some stories. And one place I found a lot of information was in old poetry books. And I came across this one poem by a chap called Evan Jones. Now, Evan Jones is pretty obscure as Welsh poets go. Nobody's really heard of him. He lived in Prengwyn, not far from Llantysil. He was a farmer. But in this poem, he's describing what used to happen in the harvest, which was people would collect stooks, and they would then leave them to dry for a bit, and then they would form what we would call a soppin, which is about 9 stooks collected together. And then after a few weeks of drying, they would construct Helmi. Helmi is the plural of hilem, and a hilem is a corn rick. And they used to have thatched roofs to keep the rain off. And this was the principal means by which people in Wales used to store their corn over winter. So in this poem, he's describing how autumn's coming, and it's sweeping through the landscape, and it's ripping the leaves from the trees, with winter following not far behind. But in its face, surrounding the farmhouse, surrounding Evan Jones's family farm, is this silent army of Helmi in their golden liveries, protecting the farmhouse against the onset of winter. So it's a really timeless image that he paints, harking back to days when things were a bit simpler perhaps, but I think it's a really important image to bear in mind, because this is literally how the Welsh have kept themselves alive for centuries. And I think if we're going to bring back these grains and bring back this food as part of our cuisine, then we also need to remember part of the culture that went along with it, and some of the techniques and stories that were part of that whole way of life. So that's what drew me to this poem, and I set it to music, and the track Helmi is the result. So I hope you enjoy.